Ahoy, my friends, it's your old buddy Doc, back again with another story time with Doc. And this week we have a great story. It's Pirate Mouse, Quite by Accident. It's written by Jenny Hill and illustrated by James and Lara Mumby-Croft. So let's begin. I'm interested to see how you become a pirate mouse quite by accident. I wouldn't think it would be easy. Do you know what, Herbie? George asked his dog, as he put the finishing touches on his pirate ship. I bet everyone is taking their dog or cat to school tomorrow for Pet Day. Oh, I wish we could find an exciting pet to take. Herbie wagged his tail in delight. What could be more exciting than chasing cats and rabbits around a classroom all day? Great question. I don't know what would be more exciting. At the bottom of George's garden lived a little mouse called Tom. Tom Mouse had no home and no friends. He spent his long days learning to tightrope walk on the washing line. He hoped that George would soon notice him one day. He didn't want to be an ordinary mouse, like the mice from the pet shop. He wanted to be a clever mouse, one that could walk on a tightrope. The only problem was, being a mouse and being so small, it was really rather hard to get noticed. Oh, he feels like he's not getting noticed. From the roof of the garden shed, Tom Mouse sat and watched George play pirates in his bedroom. He imagined walking the plank on George's pirate ship, having a sword fight with the locals, drinking ginger beer and counting treasure. He dreamt of a warm bed at night that was out of the cold wind, and he dreamt of a large plate full of fresh cheese. I like fresh cheese. Me and Tom Mouse have something in common. The wind ruffled his fur as big black clouds started to fill the sky. Oh, trust you to be sitting there, he said, looking down at the neighbor's cat, who was smiling and licking her lips. How am I going to get down now, he wondered. That cat, kind of in the way. Tom Mouse fished his spotted handkerchief out of his waistcoat pocket. He carefully tied a knot in each corner to make a parachute. Come on, wind, he shouted as he looked up at the dark sky above. A puff of wind filled his handkerchief and lifted him high into the sky, over the fence, and through a broken window into the neighbor's garage. He landed on top of a flower pot, which toppled over and smashed. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose. Bother, he said as he picked himself up and dusted himself off. He had knocked out one of his front teeth. He put it in his waistcoat pocket and looked around the garage for something sticky to mend his tooth. The garage smelt of cat, so Tom Mouse had to be quick. Honey will do it, he thought. He found a tube of black boot polish by an old used paint tin. It certainly didn't look like honey. He gave it a sniff and then tried to stare down the hole in the center of the spongy stick. It made a large black ring around his eye, but he didn't notice. No, he's got a ring around his eye. Tom Mouse scampered up onto a cardboard box and wiped his hands and face with an old dirty rag. He didn't realize that this had made his face quite grubby. The box was sealed with tape. Tom took his trusty knife from his belt and slowly cut the box open. It was full of old, dusty curtains and hooks. He wriggled and rummaged around inside, and soon, feeling hot, quickly he came up for some air. An old brass curtain ring was caught up onto his ear. It looks like a pirate earring. Many pirates wore earrings. Bloop. Rain started to fall on the garage roof. Bloop, bloop. Another raindrop and another. Tom Mouse was tired and hungry. "I suppose it is time to go home," he said sadly. He thought about a warm place to sleep for the night, out of the wind and rain and away from the cat. He felt a shiver run down his back. If only he could have found some honey for his tooth. He quickly folded his handkerchief into a large triangle and tied it around his head with a knot at the back. That will keep some of the rain off, he thought, as he rolled up his trouser legs to try and keep them dry. He doesn't want to be cold and wet. I don't like being cold and wet, so I understand how Tom feels. Tom Mouse hopped through a crack in the garage door and jumped over some puddles in the driveway. He ran as fast as he could to a gap in the fence. On the other side, he spotted an old cracked flower pot, which was turned upside down. The crack was just large enough for him to squeeze through. He's a tiny mouse. Didn't need that big of a crack. Tom Mouse wriggled inside and felt glad to be out of the cold and wet. The wind howled through the gaps, and drops of rain splashed onto his head from the hole above. As he sat down to catch his breath, a tear trickled slowly down his face. He wrapped his arms around his legs and buried his face into his lap to keep warm. His tears turned into sobs, which grew louder and louder. All he had wanted was a home and a friend. George was upstairs, brushing Herbie's coat for pet day. "Shh," he said to Herbie. "What's that?" Herbie raced downstairs, out the front door, and down the front steps. He sniffed and pawed at the overturned flower pot. He could smell a mouse. Oh no. He's been found. His safe place may not be safe. Tom Mouse froze with fright. He closed his eyes tightly and tried not to tremble. He held his breath to try to stop his sobbing, but he could not stop shaking. He let out a little squeak as the flower pot was lifted. There was a moment of silence. Tom Mouse could feel the rain against his fur and the cold wind wrapping around his legs. He kept his head down, not daring to look, but the silence was too much. Slowly, he peeked through one eye and then the other. Eventually, he lifted his head. There was George. "A pirate mouse?" whispered George in disbelief. Are you a pirate mouse?" Tom Mouse was not quite sure what George meant by pirate mouse. But from the look of excitement on George's face, he thought that it must be a good thing. He's all excited. He's met a pirate mouse. George smiled and slowly bent down to pick up Tom Mouse, sheltering him from the rain in the palm of his hand. George ran upstairs to his bedroom and gently placed Tom Mouse onto the hammock in the ship. Did he finally get to the ship? Oh, you fit perfectly, Pirate Mouse. Do you want to come with me to Pet Day tomorrow, Pirate Mouse? You will be the best pet mouse ever, said George, as he swung Tom Mouse in the hammock. You could live here with me, and we could play pirates every day. We could sword fight and find buried treasure. We could drink ginger beer and even walk the plank. What do you think, Pirate Mouse? Tom Mouse smiled and lay down quietly in the hammock, listening to the patter of rain outside on the window. He knew that he had found his warm home and friend at last. Perhaps one day he would even be able to walk the tightrope, but this time it would be on a pirate ship. Well, that's fantastic. It seems that Pirate Mouse Tom has found a forever home with George and is now warm and has a friend and is able to do all the pirate things that he wanted to do. What a fantastic story. And we need to keep that in mind sometimes, that sometimes things may not look like they're on the way to what we want them to be, but we keep on our journey, and eventually we can come to where we want them to be. Just stay true to your dreams. With that, thank you very much, and I can't wait until next time when I see you again. Until then, be well.